Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and guess who got caught spying on the American people illegally again? Well, it's the FBI, and I've been telling you this for a very, very, very long time. Let's not get it twisted. This really isn't news. The only thing that's news about this is that these are cases from 2017 and 2018, and that it took a secret court to find out that, yes, these warrantless FBI searches were 100% illegal. Used to have a Fourth Amendment, thought we had a Fourth Amendment. We don't have a Fourth Amendment. And we're going to read into this article, but one of the things I really want to do here is go back all the way to pre-9/11, because they talk about 9/11, and I believe it's section 702, how they're able to have this type of surveillance for foreign enemies, for foreign people. But the truth of the matter is, Norris Insight systems predate that, and that every large telecommunication company in the country had secret NSA servers put into them at least in the 90s. If it wasn't in the 80s, folks. Forget about wiretaps. We're talking about every single digital communication being tracked, traced, and databased in some manner, in some capacity. That doesn't mean somebody's watching everything or listening to everything, but algorithms have existed. Promise software, Carnivore. It's been around for a very long time. And after we dig deep into this article, we're going to play an excerpt from my film Invisible Empire. I know some of you have seen this excerpt before. Hepting versus AT&T, a very important case, but because we have gained so many subscribers and I do so many videos that many people miss, I think it's really important that we go over that part of the video because it's so factual, it's so in your face, and basically it just reinforces that this really isn't news. So let's read this one. It's pretty short. It's on Gizmodo. They did a really good job of wrapping all of this up into one. And even Edward Snowden tweeted about this, going, it's so blatant now that the FBI running these illegal programs, and that they are illegal, they're actually getting told on by secret courts. That's how bad it is. And why we have secretive federal courts for things like this should raise alarm bells anyway. We live in a national security state. Your constitutional republic has been eviscerated. There is barely a fourth estate. Because if there was a fourth estate, this is a Wall Street Journal story, right? And there are other stories about that. But this would be headlines all over. They would be demanding that President Donald Trump talked about this and not the Ukraine. This would be leading off the Democratic debates coming up on the 15th. You won't hear a word about this in the debates. I'll put dollars to donuts, baby. Who wants to put a dozen donuts against 100 American dollars that they don't bring up this case? Anybody? Bueller? A secretive federal court has ruled that the Federal Bureau of Investigation abused the privacy rights of U.S. citizens by searching for their information within the National Security Agency's databases that should legally only be used to gather foreign intelligence information. I've been telling you for years, had nothing to do with foreign intelligence information. Zero, zip, zilch, long before those Snowden leaks. The Wall Street Journal reports that on Tuesday, the U.S. intelligence community released a court opinion on a ruling which reveals that last year the Foreign Intelligence Services, the FISA court, found that a warrantless program for internet surveillance aimed at foreign agents was used to search Americans' data. No shit, Sherlock. According to the FISA court, and again, the fact that secret courts are acknowledging this now should also raise alarm bells. How bad is it really? According to the FISA court, which rules on foreign surveillance warrants requested by the FBI and NSA, the FBI used the system to search for raw data on Americans. Such improper use of program likely infringed upon those people's constitutional rights. Likely? Yeah, okay. As the Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures. Searching Americans' data in the system ran afoul of the law that authorizes the program. According to the opinion, sorry about that, guys. Because of judge's opinion targets whether or not the broad practice of the FBI was legal, and no individuals have been charged with a crime, the legal definition of breaking the law is a bit squishy in this case. Yeah, I didn't expect anybody to be charged. This has been standard protocol for decades. Pre-9/11. But we'll get there. Again, Norris Insight Systems. Hepting versus AT&T. Cases you will never hear about. Okay? Ever. Let's see. But the judge was clear that the feds are not treating the FISA courts properly. Again, no kidding. So there's the Snowden tweet, and here it is. The NSA system for warrantless searching for foreign communications was created out of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act in the wake of 9/11. But all these points were in place well before 9/11, being used before 9/11. Let's get real, okay? Let's get real. Under federal law, the database of this program should only be used for foreign intelligence or uncovering evidence of foreign crimes. However, tens of thousands of inappropriate searches within the database were done in 2017 and 2018. Okay? Phone numbers and emails. You better believe it. You better believe it. The ruling also cites an instance when the FBI contractor used the system to find information for his family, other FBI staff, and himself. Of course, people within the administration are abusing it for their own purposes on top of all the illegal surveillance. Okay? This is why government agents get caught watching you have intimate relations on your webcams and such. This is a very real thing. Remember, Snowden talked about how they were intercepting nudes and videos, et cetera, back then. Largely ignored, because that's what hits home to people. You can spy on people all day, and then they'll tell you, well, if I'm not doing anything wrong, who cares? And then you tell them, well, they've got your dinky pic, and oh, it's outrage time. The Daily Beast reports that the court found on one day in December of 2017. You ready? So when they say tens of thousands, it's really hundreds of thousands. Look at this number. On one day in December 2017, the FBI made 6,800 database searches based on social security numbers. In other words, people that are American citizens because they have social security numbers, not foreign assets. Ron Wyden had this to say. Okay. Last year, when Congress reauthorized Section 702 of FISA, it accepted the FBI's outright refusal to account for all of its warrantless backdoor searches of Americans, which is commonplace. Commonplace. Today's release demonstrates how baseless the FBI's position was and highlights Congress's constitutional obligation to act independently and strengthen the checks and balances on government surveillance, which there are none. Which there are no checks and balances. This is the executive branch that goes well beyond the President of the United States. Let me promise you that. I talked about this with Mick West, and, he was asking me, there's all these problems. Do you have solutions? I said, yes. Let's bring it. We have to get away from the national security state. There has to be checks and balances again. The executive branch, and I'm not talking about just the Trump administration, I'm talking about the permanent state that is under him, has to be held accountable when they break the law. And they are not. So, let's journey back to a little film I did all the way back, released in 2010, 9 years ago, plus this was available. And the information was available well before then. I'd been talking this on the radio. But this is how they do it.
So it should come as no surprise that they have been tracking, tracing, and databasing our lives for years. Many people are aware that the Bush administration engaged in warrantless wiretaps on American citizens. What they don't understand is that it has come out in court that all the major telecommunications companies have been secretly storing every piece of data received from our phones and our computers and handing them over to the National Security Agency.
Pre-Snowden, and this little piece right here, there were two pieces on Hepting versus AT&T. Keith Olbermann, to his credit, covered it. This is a PBS piece, and that was it.
Heard about the government secretly listening in on phone conversations without a warrant, but there is evidence that your email is also being tapped. The government has been interested program. That program has been criticized as illegal because it's missing an important ingredient, search warrants. Several years ago, Klein says he came to suspect that AT&T had installed a secret computer in.
And that's Mark Klein. He's one of the technicians that had to split this off into the secret NSA room.
Designed to spy on the transaction. The question is, where do we
This is just a small part of the picture, as AT&T was not the only company involved and emails were not the only issue. The NSA was installing Norris Insight systems, which are capable of monitoring billions of bits of internet traffic per second. It was also able to monitor any calls traffic through its system, all websites visited, all instant messaging, and separate types of transaction records.
But no big deal. You heard about this, right? Like pre-Snowden, there were a lot of people talking about this, right? The warrantless surveillance of everybody in America through the largest telecommunication companies in the country, right? It was all over the place.
The secret room at AT&T contains gear which enables the government to look at every individual message on the internet and analyze exactly what people are doing. Here's another document. It mentions a company called Norris. Norris makes computer software that can swallow and analyze 10 gigabytes of information every second. That means you could go through all the information in all the books in the Library of Congress in a little over 15 minutes.
The documents Klein and others were able to produce were then censored by the NSA.
Bankston isn't allowed to talk about the documents in detail. The government has since had them sealed. But he says what is in there boggles the mind.
So again, these documents are sealed. This is why we need things like WikiLeaks. This is why we need an outlet for government document. First of all, these weren't even really government documents. These were leaks, all right, that a lawyer took to a court. It was thrown out, and then the appeal was thrown out. You can, and we're going to do it right now. We're going to come back to the rest of this, but we're just going to type it in. Hepting versus ATT. Got its own Wikipedia page. There it is. Huh? Where is the Wikipedia? Right here. Right there it is. Okay? And there's plenty of it here. There's plenty of information. You know, it'll show you the actual diagram for how this was running. However, all those documents that got sealed, are they available on Wikipedia? Should I not be able to know what's in every single sentence of them, seeing that they're breaking the law? Of course I should. You should. We should be outraged about this. But nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. More and more information comes out daily, and we are numbed to the fact that our government surveils everything that we do.
We are talking about a substantial portion of all the communications traffic in the United States.
The policies have been shielded by the Obama administration and continue to this day. Attorney General Holder has publicly stated lawsuits be thrown out of court. And after several attempts, Klein and other cases were thrown out as well. Once again citing the national security of what used to be a constitutional republic, not a massive corrupt slave state.
So there you go. There you go. Remember, you can watch this film along with all of my films, Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, and Shade the Motion Picture right here on this channel for free. I give all of my work away. All of it. There's no secret videos, guys. I don't do stuff for like patrons or subscribe. I don't have that stuff. I think this information needs to get out. I want you to share this as much as possible. Okay, that's why I'm doing 3 to 7 videos a day on subjects that matter, whether it be the NSA, the FBI, the Bilderberg Group, Epstein, Nexium, and so much more stuff you're not going to hear on the major networks at any kind of depth. And unfortunately, stuff you're probably not going to hear in most of the alternative media anymore that's now had a partisan take. Because to me, it's never been about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. I try to hold everybody accountable. I try to go decision by decision. There is gray area. You have to pat Trump on the back when he does something good and then take him to task when he does something bad. And that's everybody. That's not just Donald Trump. That's not just Joe Biden. That is everybody out there. We should all be held accountable for our actions. So if you're with me and you agree with me, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. It's going to keep me going. It's going to keep me producing material. It's going to keep the Burmis Brigade growing. And lo and behold, we're probably going to hit 35K today. When we hit 35K, we will do a 35K AMA Ask Me Anything where you guys get to get your questions in. So I'm looking forward to that. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you on the flip side.